You can be programmed to do anything. You can't rule healthy, strong, independent, and abundant people. You need sick people. You need impoverished people. Let's program the public so that they're always struggling financially.
What if the movies you love, the shows you watch, and the media you consume are subtly programming you to stay broke, disempowered, and trapped in a system designed to keep you small? In today's episode, I'm joined by Jason Christoff, an expert in behavioral psychology and subconscious programming, to uncover how Hollywood, mainstream media, and the corporate elites shape your beliefs about money and success without you even realizing it. We break down how entertainment installs limiting beliefs about wealth, why people unknowingly sabotage their financial future, and the hidden tactics used to keep society in a cycle of poverty. We'll explore how you can break free from subconscious programming and reclaim control. If you've ever wondered why you feel stuck no matter how hard you work, then this conversation will change the way you see the world. Introducing Jason Christoff to the Dan Astin-Gregory podcast.
Jason.
Dan, good to see you again.
Good to see you. Are we being programmed to stay poor?
Well, you can be programmed to do anything. So let's say something like a Netflix show called The Queen's Gambit. It was a show about a drunken, pill-popping chess player. And when that came out on Netflix, in the first week, chess set sales went up, I think about 300%. Chess set inquiries went up 900%. We respond to our environment. And I mean, it doesn't matter what social contagion you follow. Like even in the 1980s, there was a show called The Cosby Show. And yes, I'm aware about Cosby's been in a lot of trouble since. But this show had a very positive portrayal of the Black American family. There was Dr. Huxtable. That was Bill Cosby. He was an African-American medical doctor. His wife, Claire Huxtable, played by, I think, Felicia Rashad. She was an African-American lawyer. And when that show, like during the 9-year run of the show, post-secondary education enrollment in the Black community went up 19%.
Wow.
Yeah, so whether it's positive or negative, we respond to our environment. And see, psychologists know that. And if you were to sort of sum up 4 years of a psychology degree, it's sort of like monkey see, monkey do. And the reason we repeat what's most prevalent in our environment is because it's a safety mechanism. And we have a lot of safety mechanisms, and they run outside our conscious awareness, just like a cut healing. Like if you shaving tonight and you cut yourself, you can't yell at your cut and say, you know, I'm on a panel coming up in a couple of days. Could you hurry up and heal? I don't want to look like a big Band-Aids on my face. So there's things in our body that everybody knows we don't control. The hair growth, digestion, heart beating. If something flies toward our eye, we blink, and we don't have to think. And thank God we don't have to think, because we can't think that fast. So a lot of the things that go on to protect us happen outside our conscious awareness by this other part of our brain called the subconscious that runs really, really fast. We're not involved, and thank God we're not, because we couldn't keep up with the information. That part of the brain looks for the repetitive content. And the reason it's looking for the repetitive content, like the positive portrayal on The Cosby Show, or a lot of people were watching The Queen's Gambit and got interested because the chessboards were just coming up frequently inside their view. The reason our subconscious is designed to do that is because what's most repetitive reflects what the bigger group is saying, thinking, or doing. Now, that's really important for our survival, because humans like other humans that are like them. So we have this system where we react to the environment. There's something outside our conscious awareness, not only looking for what's repetitive in an attempt to figure out how to best fit in with the herd. Once it basically finds out what's repetitive, again, outside our conscious control, it makes us adopt it as our own. So Everybody in psychology knows this, and everybody in psychology knows this is the basis of mind control. I'm going to go into your TV shows, your movies, your print media, your radio, and I'm going to control the repetitive content. And I'm going to hack that part of the brain that you don't know anything about, that's always counting the repetitive content and always making you adopt that content as your own. And you can make the person do whatever they want. It can be positive, like they called this the Cosby effect. Dr. Jerry Croth out of Santa Clara University in California deemed that the Cosby effect, a positive effect through repetitive, like a tsunami of positive repetition into the Black community. Unfortunately, after the Cosby Show was taken down, and the ratings were still high, so it's sort of curious why it was removed. And basically, after that, the Black community in the United States was drowned with a lot of negative content. And Dr. Jerry Croth called that the Lil Wayne effect. And the enrollment in post-secondary education in the Black community through the negative repetition plummeted to pre-Cosby Show levels. So whatever they want us to be, they have a saying, the group that's organizing this: what's on the screen at noon will be on the street by night. So one of their their overarching goal with the control of the repetitive content is a full spectrum weakness agenda. You can't rule healthy, strong, independent, and abundant people. You need sick people, you need impoverished people, depressed, dysfunctional people, disoriented people. And if I came and put hands on you and stole your money, which they do sometimes, unfortunately, they call that taxes. But, there's a lot of ways they prefer that they use this mimicking, mirroring, and emulating system, so you just follow the repetitive content and you make yourself weak. And so they have many different weapons to basically accomplish their full spectrum weakness agenda. One of them is controlling the repetitive content in your film. And this part of the brain doesn't know when one film ends and another one begins, and it's always counting the content, and it's always tabulating it in the same categories from the last trimester all the way till you die. So they can upregulate or downregulate at any time. The count will remain the same. So one of their full spectrum weakness agendas is, let's program the public so that they're always struggling financially. And the way they do that is they will frame wealth in all these movies. And I'll give you lots of examples. And it's important that people watching this go out and watch for themselves. They have to go and view these shows for themselves and with the new set of eyes. But they will always frame wealth and abundance. It doesn't matter who it is, for lack of a better words, they will frame rich people as pricks and assholes all the time. And then the person who's impoverished and struggling and chaotic, they will frame them as a more spiritual person, someone who basically walks the high moral ground in life. And people are like, well, I might not see it. Well, look at the movie Titanic, where you have, say, Jack Dawson, and he's poor, and he doesn't, it's such a subtle thing, but it's in all the movies. He can't even afford to buy the ticket to go on the Titanic. Jack Dawson can't. He has to win it in a card game. So it's a matter of luck. And this has a lot to do with lotteries, the way lotteries are portrayed, that it's sort of okay to become rich through luck, but not through hard work. So there's a lot of underlying, there's some undertones there to how we're managed in other parts of the society. But Jack goes on the ship, and then he meets Rose. And Rose, in the movie Titanic, is very upset because she has to marry the rich guy. And of course, we should already know through our programming that all rich guys are pricks, and this is no exception. The rich guy, forget even the actor's name, because you're not going to remember their names, right? Because you just cast them off mentally as someone not even worth remembering. Like, who can name the actor? Maybe it was Billy Zane. Maybe that was his name. I don't know for sure. But basically, the way it's portrayed is you have, they're up in the first class cabin, Rose and this asshole rich guy, and she's dreaming of Jack, right? Like, this guy's just not satisfying her because he's a jerk. And this part of the brain as well that counts for repetitive content doesn't know the difference between real life, imagined thought, and what's on the screen. So what it sees on the screen, it thinks that's the environment you're living in, that's the environment to analyze, and you got to pick up the themes so that you don't make a misstep and get kicked out of the tribe or get attacked by the tribe. So in this movie, Rose goes down to meet Jack because she's longing for him. And it's not the second class cabin. It's not even the second class cabin. It's the third class. And of course, she enters the room and everybody in the third class cabin smiling, dancing. One's playing the spoons, one's playing the accordion. They're spinning around. They couldn't have a better time. Money's, who cares about anything else except the good time? And these are portrayed in so many movies. And even when the Titanic hits the iceberg in this film, Billy Zane, if that's his name, the rich guy who's the jackass, basically grabs a kid, right? Grabs a baby because they're only letting women and children into the lifeboats, and he just grabs grabs a baby out of a woman's hand, says, "This is my child. Can I get on the lifeboat?" So it's like many levels of the same sort of imprint. And even at the end, when Rose is older, because in the movie, Rose ages and she's telling her story from an older perspective, and she's got that diamond necklace, right? This massive blue diamond, or maybe it's a blue sapphire, I'm not too sure. But regardless of what gemstone it is, it's worth tens of millions of dollars. And she just who cares about money? She just throws it into the ocean. So it's like level after level after level. And someone says, well, what about other movies? Well, look at something like The Equalizer, right? You have Denzel Washington, and he works at a hardware store, and he's the vigilante. He's the savior. He's the good guy. He's also helping in the movie The Equalizer, Equalizer number one. There's three Equalizers. They're all like this. And Denzel Washington works at the hardware store trying to coach like an overweight guy to lose weight and make security guard. This is his big goal. And Denzel Washington's so poor in the movie that he has one pair of sneakers and he cleans it with a toothbrush every night. Salt of the earth, you're supposed to think, right? Really takes care of a thing, respects people, respects his own objects. And then, the anti-hero in The Equalizer is a man named Slavy, which is just basically the word slavey. There's so many different ways they're going to get inside your brain, but he's a Russian mobster. He's another prick. He's really rich. He comes in to his really fancy restaurant, driving a gull-wing door Mercedes SLS. And then he tells the valet, "Get this piece of shit Lamborghini out of my parking spot," swearing at everybody as he goes in, a real arrogant prick. And then they come to a conflict, the Russian mobster and Denzel Washington, and he goes and cleans house, right? So basically, it doesn't matter if you watch those two movies, you watch Taken with Liam Neeson, where he's a bumbling, divorced husband, and he's in the initial stages of the movie, he's coming in to drop off a sort of a crappy gift for his daughter at his old ex-wife's house that has married a complete billionaire. And so basically he's a bumbling fool. But at the end, it shows that the rich guy he's not really a deep guy. He's sort of a shallow guy. And Liam Neeson has to come save the day and save his daughter, who got apprehended in Paris on a trip with another teenage girl. So again, Hollywood really controls the content in this genre. And there's so many other little sub agendas they have, but with wealth, this is the primary one. And even with religion, and I believe in the foundational principles of religion: protect the young, protect the elderly, protect the infirm, protect the defenseless, live in a moral and ethical way, do unto others as you would want done unto you. I believe all that, but I'm also a mind control researcher. So when I see a phrase that says it's easier to get a camel through the eye of a needle than a rich man into heaven, and I know how old the group is that we're dealing with, I just know that this messaging that if you're bad, if you're rich, you're a bad person on some level, it's riddled throughout our society. And I gave a speech yesterday, here at the People's Reset, because it's important, because as people in the freedom movement, truth movement, I call it the betterment movement now, we need money, right? We can no longer dream what we need into reality. We need houses in the country. We need communities. We need waterways. We need wells. We need seed. We need storage. We need, even our own tool sheds or communal tool sheds. These things cost money, and we're not going to accomplish it living out of a VW bus, like sleeping on the beach. It's just not going to happen. So it's important everybody understand. It doesn't matter. And this is across all, it doesn't matter your age, your gender, your sexual orientation. This is prolific in our society. People think that rich people are bad. And I'll tell you, money is a magnifying glass. It makes you more of who you already are. So when I was making money when I was young, I was an unethical, soulless North American meatbag, just trying to get to the top of the corrupt ruling pyramid where all the ladies and parties were. Money in my hand at that time, I just used to destroy myself and destroy the world. But after I figured out that I was also impregnated with these programs, that this wasn't really me, I was mimicking my environment, and they were getting what they wanted out of me. I was destroying my potential. I was addicted to alcohol. I invested so much money trying to destroy myself with drugs and alcohol and hedonism and bad decision-making that I just knew it couldn't be me. Like, who would invest their time and money destroying themselves? So basically, I cleaned myself up of these programs. I know what they look like. I can use my knowledge of the programs to predict where the economy is going, what the next move is of the ruling group, and I can sort of play my cards right. So now I just basically program myself, just like the Cosby Show. That was a bit of a positive angle. And so I control the repetitive content of my environment to trick my brain. Like, when you're in my body, there's so much repetitive content of motivation and sort of business startup and business ideas and business angles. My subconscious, who can only respond to the environment, it believes that I'm in an abundant tribe. And that to the subconscious is very important because it wants me to fit in. That's its job. So think of the subconscious like an 800-pound gorilla who will grab you and drag you in the direction of the repetitive content, whether you want to go there or not, right? So, and you can't logically rationalize with that gorilla. If you say, look, if you're surrounded by poverty programming content, that gorilla will grab you by the arm and drag you, kicking and screaming, in the direction of thinking that having an abundant life, and I don't mean Ferraris, I mean a pickup truck, a shed with tools, organic food, a fruit farm, a larger garden. So it's not like mansions and Ferraris and shallow living. I mean, we need freedom, we need options, we need independence. That's what we need the money for. So basically, I tell people, they've done the research on this part of the brain, and they've tried to do anything other than control the repetitive content to mind control the person and like put them in a trance and, make them magnetically go toward the repetitive content. There's nothing else works other than controlling what you see and what you hear on a repetitive basis. So as a human out there right now, you only have two choices. You have to control your repetitive content, or they're going to control it, because there's really there's no like door number 3 on this game show. So it's important people understand that.
So much to unravel in there, Jason. I mean, I also recall all the way back to Plato, those who tell stories, the stories rule society. And it's the same thing. It's those who are in control of the media, the advertising, control society. It's the same thing. It's our belief systems are informed by these repetitive patterns of information, signals. And until we become aware of those, and my question to you is, even if you become aware of them, do you have power over that? Or is that programming so powerful that you have to replace it with something else?
It's better to do both, because the thing is, you do remember when there was like old hypnosis videos or TV shows where there would be a man with a pocket watch, yes, and he would be like, look at the watch, you're getting very sleepy. Yeah. Now, the reason they used to do that is because when the human brain focuses on one thing with the eyes, it actually recognizes that you're not as strong to defend yourself because you're not looking at the full environment. Okay? Now, when that happens, again, this is one of these processes that you don't know what's going on. The brain says, okay, so Dan's watching something like intently, and it means he's not really looking at his periphery or not paying attention. There's a shift where your subconscious will say he can't really defend himself, sort of in stage number 1 defenses, which I call stage number 2 defenses, to become more compliant because you're not ready to defend yourself. So that old trick is even in ancient black magic books that I found from the 1600s, is called fixing of the gaze.
Wow.
And that happens when you watch a screen.
Yes.
Right. Even in the movie Lord of the Rings, it was Viggo Mortensen's character, I think his name was Aragorn. And he warned all the hobbits, he says, don't make eye contact with the great wizard, for he will cast a spell on you. Right? Because if you lock eyes and focus even for seconds, this sort of follow what's on the screen is going to happen. So if you are watching movies, by all means watch it. But if you're paying attention and looking for the patterns, you're not in that hypnosis, fixing of the gaze stage, which is called officially alpha brainwave state or trance. So watch your movies, look for the agendas. And if anybody's watching this, if you want to know how all these agendas roll out so that you can, or I'll teach you all the tricks first. Email me. Can I just tell them? Email me and I'll give you a report, a presentation I did. Email me at info@jchristoff.com so I can teach you a little bit more how to stay a little bit awake when you're watching your shows and you still be entertained slightly, but look for the patterns. So I'm going to teach you about all the tricks, but it's good to reprogram, control your environment. But it's also good to go back into the movies and look for the most repetitive content and be aware of it, because some of the agendas are really hard to pick out.
Yeah.
The coffee is a big one. We've talked about that before. If people are interested in like why, that's the most repetitive content in all film. So it outdoes alcohol, absolutely. So it's coffee, and there's reasons for that, because oddly enough, that fixing of the gaze brainwave state called alpha is initiated when you drink caffeine.
Wow.
Right. So, and this group knew it. I mean, tea came into effect at about 1610 in the UK, is because this ability to sort of change your brain function and make you follow what I'm saying or what repetitive content's in the environment. They've been working on this for a long time. And the masters of it have passed down the secrets to through what we call secret societies. Caffeine has a huge effect on the brain. They've known this for thousands of years, and an effect that doesn't benefit you as someone who doesn't know anything about this. It benefits them. So 1610, you got the tea coming in. And again, it was the royal family and all the Commonwealth nations, because how do you think you get to that stage where you're the royals and everybody else is like raking or shoveling dirt down in the fields? Because you know how to manipulate perception. And then during the Crusades, they went and found the coffee in Arabia. And then the Crusaders brought it back, and they're part of the secret societies, right? It's the Knights Templar. So they know all these tricks. And they came back to the royal family and said, yeah, the tea's great, but you got to see this stuff. This stuff is insane. We also found something called hashish that they use before they go to battle. This stuff is equally insane. So it's all about drugging. It's all everything that's in the movies. Look for the big ones: alcohol, coffee, feminized males, weak males. Like if you're going to rule a society, Max Spires, I don't know if you know Max Spires. He was removed from circulation about a decade ago. He was someone like us, and he gave a big speech in Poland, and he said the easiest way to take over a society is remove the strong males. So if you put weak males on a repetitive basis, this is the same thing as making someone poor. We're just going to follow just the way we're designed. So if anybody's following this, drinking, coffee, smoking, marijuana, this is all in the movies, and that's why, of course, marijuana is coast to coast in the Canada. It's all legalized. The alcohol, and even if someone's a little effeminized male, there's nothing wrong with you, right? Like everything's right with you, because you're just responding to your environment. You're working exactly as designed. But when we're busy, and see, this is the thing. If I came to your house every Friday night, Dan, and put hands on you and took you out into the front lawn with 4 other people, and we held down your wrists and your ankles and poured wine into your mouth, I'm pretty sure you're smart enough to know that something's up. But if I use the repetitive programming method, this is natural. Like the reason this repetitive programming system's in our bodies is because our body loves us. It's a loving system. It's not a malfunction. So it's just easier for me to trick you to drink on a Friday night, trick you to drink coffee every morning, trick you to be poor, because how confusing is it for you? If I completely mind control you to be an absolute human mess, and you're like, things aren't coming together, and I'm just puppeteering you from behind the veil, behind the green curtain at Oz with all my movies, and then I roll by in my Rolls Royce as a mind control expert, and I look down and say, hey, dang, you're having a hard time. That's really tough for you. Hey, you're having a hard day. Here's 20 quid, and I'll just roll out my window knowing you'll never come out of it. Because people, not only would you suspect something if I poured wine down your throat on a Friday night, you'd really suspect something if I said, look, I got a 65-inch TV and it's free. I'm coming in with it. I'll give you an upgrade. Now it's wireless. Now I got the camera on. I'm going to watch you. But they're so good at it. Those are their devices of manipulation. They make you buy them. And they do it through repetitive content where you're so excited on a Christmas, a Christmas purchase binge that you're like, I'm going to get a brand new 65 or 85, however big they are. They make us excited through the repetitive content to destroy ourselves. So it's really important people know this, because everything from what happened in 2020 to now, the Trump cult, and don't forget when psyops end and start. And so when they start, they're really hard to talk to people about. Like in 2020, we talked about the COVID psyop, everybody attacked you. Now it's ending. right? They're taking the chess pieces off the chessboard. Oh, we're just that doesn't matter. Everybody can talk about it. Go talk about it. It's totally fine. And then the Trump cult starts, and we're like, hold on, it's another psyop, and we're in it again. Everybody's attacking you, right? If you know the psyops and the cycles, psyops start, they do end, and they'll just clear the chessboard and start another one, and we're right back in it again because people don't know these cycles. They don't know the cycles.
What concerns me most, and where we began this conversation around, are we being programmed to being poor, is the observable weakening of society. And Dave Asprey recently, he's coming up on the show, shared a chart which showed from the 1980s the willingness of teenagers to take risks and to the actual desire to go and do things like we may have done in our childhood, climb trees, go mountain biking. It's shocking to see this downward curve since the 80s, massive weakening, observable weakening of society, this safety culture, wanting to self-preserve and not step out of the box physically, mentally, emotionally. The dumbing down of society is one of the most concerning aspects of this. There are so many injustices during that COVID period that I could talk about and have talked about for hours on this show. But one of the deepest concerns I have is the lack of resilience now, the low point, and I think there's plenty more that can go to subjugate society. But what I want to start doing with this show, and speaking to people like yourself and others, is helping people to recognize that that's happened and is happening, but then find a way to create a turning point, because keeping the focus narrow to the financial prosperity side of financial independence, financial freedom, however you want to look at it, you've nailed it on the head. The kind of the pervasive beliefs that people have about people with wealth. And I may even test this today in conjunction to this interview. I'll take my Vox pod and I'll go and just ask a random selection of people what they think about wealthy individuals. And I can almost guarantee that at least 80% of them will have negative sentiment towards negative individuals. Right. Now, the biggest tricky part here is those who have been paying attention to the psyop, as you described. There's been this concentrated focus on the elite class, the ruling class, as the perpetrators, the beneficiaries of this manufactured situation. But I think that has also further deepened the money wound, because now people also associate having money with having power, control, influence over others. And the last thing people want to do is emulate those elite ruling class. Right. Even if they know in their heart their values are so different, their principles, their ethics, their morals are divergent completely from those individuals. My concern for people now is, with such an intensity of the rallying against the elite, is now that is a barrier. I will not make myself financially wealthy because I don't want to be seen like them. How would you address that challenge?
Well, that's why most people won't go there, because they don't want to be branded. I mean, if someone attacks me because I have a business, like they'll call me grifter, right? Like they'll say you're a grifter. Like I've supported myself without any third party. I mean, this is what we need in our society. I've never gone to the hospital except for a couple of broken hands from my past of North American soulless rebound. But I've never got money from the government. I've required no help. I have no support. I was completely independent all the time. And then there'll be a guy living in his mom's basement talking how dirty money is when his mom gives him money. Yeah. Right. And then calls me a grifter because I don't rely on anybody. And then for his psyche to ever consider just having a job or being independent financially and paying his own bills, he can't get there, or he'll be a grifter in his own.
Sure. Absolutely.
Right. So basically, yeah, that's the barrier, because they don't want to be branded. And the more the person talks bad about, say, Gates billionaire, George Soros billionaire, William, what's his name, Buffett? What's his...
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. Yeah. The more they program themselves to never want to be in that conversation as anybody other than that noble struggler.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So
exactly how they've been programmed to be.
Right, it's programmed. What's funny too is the reason they're getting the billionaires up there, like Gates, and who was up there, like who's the guy that Jeff Bezos? the reason, this is all psychology, the reason they're getting, Trump's a billionaire,
Musk.
and the thing is, if you talk to Etienne de la Boche, he brought my attention to a study of monkeys who would pay in a way, so they would pay to look at certain screens. And the payment was actually a cessation of food.
Right.
So they just kept getting fed. And then so when they saw something on the screen, if they wanted the screen to stop flickering and moving to the next image, they would press a button, but the food wouldn't come. So they're actually making a payment.
Wow.
So what on the screen made them so interested to stop feeding themselves? It was the hindquarters of the female monkeys and high status monkeys. So bigger, more powerful, high status monkeys is something they were willing to make a payment for and sacrifice for and work for to view and gander at. This is why our politicians are now becoming billionaires, because we as humans love to gander and stare at high status monkeys. Exactly. So the psychology of our rule is, and that high status monkey, the lower we are status wise, the higher they are.
Sure. If you pedestalize someone else, you put yourself in a pit.
Exactly. So it works to their advantage in a couple of different levels, is because this person will never be afraid to be wealthy because they program them with what's called poverty programming. And then they start falling in love with the Donald Trump. They'll start falling in love with the Elon Musk. And these guys like Musk, I mean, we don't want to get into it, but they're staff members, they're employees. They certainly don't have access to all their wealth. I mean, their children get given an allowance because they're on the team. They sit at the table, but they're order takers. This is all one big psyop stage show since the day we flew out of the womb. And for us to take our power back, the first thing, if anybody wants to know how to take their power back, it's really simple. Because if you look at all the other facets of strength, even financial strength, emotional strength, spiritual strength, that we have to build to counterstrike what they're doing, the foundational pillar is health. You have to be strong physically.
That's why he's got the gunshot.
Yeah, the nutrition has to be good. And you know, and eventually, yes, we all get old, we all die. I mean, my waistline's getting bigger, but I'm like 55 years old, right? I don't dye my hair. I don't dye my beard. And yeah, it's some of my hair's starting to fall out now. I got gray on the side. But the thing is, it's all about this game of inches, right? And even you and I were talking today, there's late events today, tonight in the evening, and a lot less people the shows are ending earlier, like the late night events. People know sort of intrinsically now as a vibration or sort of a biophotonic communication between organisms, that health is the foundational pillar here.
And when we had dinner on the opening night, you know, back at home in England, if I went to a dinner with a group of people, everyone would be drinking alcohol. I sat at the table, everyone was drinking mango water. Not a single drop of alcohol on the table the entire night.
Right, and I tell people, like, if you want to get like sort of a Bible of healthy living, I always promote the one book, and I know Paul, but he doesn't know I promote his book. It's How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy by Paul Chek. Chek is C-H-E-K. It's all you really need to know. It's sort of like the weird stuff I'm talking about today that people are like, wow, I didn't know that. It's a whole book like that, but on food and exercise. So just read through that. You'll get your physical pillar. And if you want to be abundant and you want to start a business and you want to, I worked at Eastside Mario's as a server at an Italian chain restaurant. And then I worked there in the morning, and then I worked at a mattress factory in the evening, and I saved up money for my first business. And you need health to do that. That's long shifts. And then when I opened my business, I had to paint all my malls myself, bring up the fitness equipment myself, lay the floor myself, with all my friends. But we were young men in our early 20s, and the opening of the business almost destroyed us. But when you don't have money to start, you need physicality. You need energy to make your dreams come true. So I tell people, If you just, and even if you're working a job, like when I worked a job, I considered everybody at my place of work, at the mattress factory and at the restaurant as being members on my dream team. Like I'm not adversarial against my boss. I was happy to have a job. I was making my dreams come true, and I was helping her make her dreams come true, respectful the whole way. So this is really, really important. People know that if you want to just get outside your 9-to-5 job, if you don't like it, you want to have more money, respect everybody on the dream team, put a plan together, get your health together. Everybody can do that tomorrow.
The last question I have for you, Jason, before we get out on time, I agree with you 100% on the physical fitness as the foundation, but I know people will be thinking, yes, but what about the 800-pound gorilla you talked about?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one it's almost like the stasis. Our body is always in stasis. It's always coming back to the status quo. If our mind has been so programmed to have negative beliefs about attaining wealth, what is the one thing people can do to reprogram their mind to actually have a positive association with acquiring wealth ethically, nobly, creatively, in some way?
I offered a wealth package, a reprogramming package, like psychological reprogramming in a positive area. I offered it to everybody at the Greater Reset. I'll offer it to everybody here. Just email me at info@jchristoff.com. A single initial J, Christoff is Christ with an OFF on the end. Email me. I'll give you the full package of everything you need to do to counter-strike at their poverty programming mindset, and I'll push back against it. You basically, I'll create the repetition you need to go from the other direction, and I know how to do it. It's all I do is for a living, so they can have it free. It's worth about $300, so they can have it at no charge.
Incredible, Jason. Well, Jason, incredible work that you're doing around the world at the moment. You were here in Mexico recording this today. It's so important we have these conversations. I know so many people in the betterment movement, as we'll now refer it to, are looking for this, having that awareness of the programming that they've been subjected to, that's informed their beliefs, and hopefully have people who've been watching this at home reflecting on their own stories, money is made on trees, and all these things we hear. So pervasive in society. Let's flick the switch. Let's pursue independence, freedom, and let's create change together. So, Jason, thank you so much. Please do share this episode. And for you at home, if you're not yet a member of our community, go to Astin-Gregory.com/supporter. We've got the Live Free and Prosper community, which is all about how we can continue to live free, but also to prosper in every area, whether it's financial, our health, our relationships, our well-being, etc. So head over to Astin-Gregory.com/supporter. You can find out more about our community there. And also you'll see the links in the description of where you're watching this to Jason's email, the kind offer that he's made for you there. And you'll find us on all major platforms from YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Rumble, Odyssey, wherever you prefer to watch or listen, you'll find us there. So thanks again for tuning in. Jason, thanks very much for being here. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
This conversation with Jason Christoff has been eye-opening, but now that you can see the game, you can start to rewrite your own script. If this episode resonated with you, then please don't stop here. Join our community of free thinkers and action takers by becoming a supporting member. You'll get exclusive content, ad-free episodes, behind-the-scenes insights, and direct access to conversations that go even deeper. You can sign up now at danastingregory.com/supporter and take back control of your mind, your finances, and your future. Remember, you can get access to Jason's materials by emailing info@jasonchristoff.com, and you'll find all the links in the episode description. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Let's wake up more people to the truth. Thanks again for watching the Dan Astin-Gregory podcast. I'll see you in the very next episode.